aren't you? Yeah, she's always doing our photos as well. So what we're looking at today then is we are looking at what happens chemically inside cells to make them work, to provide the energy for the body for exercise. And next week what we'll do is we'll link that to the way the body uses the energy through the sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous systems to speed up and slow down the organ systems within the body. But today, right back inside the cells. So the objectives today then is that we're going to have a look at the word cellular metabolism, which you won't understand at the moment, but hopefully by the end of the morning you will understand. And then we're going to go on to talk about enzymes in the digestive system, but we're going to leave that a little bit for later. The main thing is that we understand cellular metabolism in the first instance. Okay, and this would fit in to assignment task 2. And in task 2, what you're asked to do is have some diagrams and some writing which explain the way two body systems work to provide the body with energy. So you will do either the cardiovascular system and the digestive system, or the respiratory system and the digestive system. And last session, we looked at the cardiovascular system and the respiratory system. You need to do the digestive system as one thing. So what we'll do next is we'll do the digestive system. You can do one of the ones that we did on Wednesday. And this, we looked at the cardiovascular and the respiratory. We are yet to look at the digestive.
You have to do the digestive.
Do the digestive as one of the others. Yeah. And for that one, you will talk in detail about the structure of those organ systems, but you have a lot of that information, most of that information anyway from the sessions that we've done in the last few weeks. But the difference is that you have to link it to the way energy is produced. And we're going to look at now at the way energy is produced within the cells. So, the first bit of this really is to just think about all of the different forms of energy that exist in the world. Energy exists in lots and lots and lots of different forms. There is light energy, heat energy, there is gravitational energy, there's mechanical energy, sound energy, nuclear energy, squillions of different types. Well, not squillions, but lots of different types. But what we are actually going to be looking at today is mostly we're going to be looking at chemical energy. And chemical energy is the energy that is produced or used when chemical reactions happen. And that's what I'm going to explain in a little bit more detail this morning, how the chemical reactions happen inside the cells. So that's a blank slide, sorry, but that basically is saying we're going to look at chemical energy in detail. I want to type it in. Now, all types of energy to do with movement, which is the other type of energy we're going to look at as well, is either what we call potential energy or kinetic energy. And this form of energy is what we often find within our muscles, but also within the cells within our bodies. There are two. The first type I'm going to talk about is the kinetic energy. And kinetic energy is the energy that is produced as part of movement. So as something moves, it produces and it gathers kinetic energy. So if you imagine a ball at the top of a slide, as it moves down towards the top of the slide, what happens? Imagine this ball at the top of the child's slide and you let it go. What happens as it moves down the slide? It gets faster. Yeah. It gains momentum. And that momentum is the kinetic energy, gathering molecules of energy and generating that energy, that kinetic energy. So think of that as that movement of a ball rolling down a slide and speeding up as kinetic energy. The other type of energy is the energy which is called the potential energy. And the potential energy that something has is the energy that is there to potentially use at the start of a process. So the potential energy of the ball at the top of the slide is quite high, isn't it? Because it's not using that energy yet, but it has the potential to speed up. So at the top of the slide, the ball has quite a lot of potential energy because it's going to set off and it's going to release that energy as it goes down. Once it gets to the bottom of the slide, it has much less potential energy because it's used it at that point. So things either have potential energy or kinetic energy. All right. Another way of thinking about it is imagining that I've got a glass in my hand and I've got it up here. And I'm about to let my hand release it and get it to the floor. Now, if I had it up here, it's holding it up at this height, it's got quite a lot of potential energy because it's going to gather force and really smash as it hits the ground. It hasn't got any kinetic energy at that point because it's not moving, but it's got a lot of potential energy. If I caught it again down here, or if you measured its energy again down here, it wouldn't have very much potential energy because it's nearly on the floor, but it would have a lot of kinetic energy because it would be moving quite fast. And that's the difference between potential and kinetic. Think of it as the top to the bottom of it. The top, it's got all of that potential to go, kinetic, to the bottom, it's got all of that kinetic movement, but not much potential. Okay? So, these are all energies to use by our body. So that will be talked about a little bit next week when we talk about exercise. But let's get back to potential energy and our chemicals. Right. Come back to that bit later. Right. So this is the bit then, if we're going to talk about chemical energy, which is what we're going to focus on now, we're going to talk about atoms. So this will take you back to your science GCSE, I think. Yeah? Are you people thinking about the science GCSE? Yeah? So what are atoms? Anybody give me an example of what an atom is?
Atoms make up everything.
Yeah, that's right. Atoms is the name for the smallest unit of matter. Now matter, when we talk about it in this way, matter is anything physical that you can touch. Absolutely, anything physical that you can touch is matter. All right? And matter is made up of atoms. So atoms make up absolutely everything around us. And every atom is made of protons. They're little tiny, beyond tiny little bits of stuff. And protons have a positive charge. It's also made up of neutrons. And neutrons are little teeny tiny bits of stuff that have a negative charge. Alright? Now the fact that protons are positive and neutrons are negative mean that what they do is the positive and the negative attract and they pull together. So those protons and those neutrons, those little tiny positive and negatively charged bits of stuff, are the middle of the atom. And they pull together because the positive and negative bits, and they form the nucleus. They form the nucleus of the atom. Okay? Usually, there is the same number of protons and neutrons in an atom. And floating all around them is the other bit of the atom. And these bits, anybody know what these bits are called? These little floaters. They're called electrons. Right? So, they basically create quite a force. The protons and the neutrons create this a force from the positive and the negative charge of the protons and the neutrons. And that holds the atom together. It holds the electrons in a little orbit around it and holds it together. So these atoms make up everything around us. And these atoms are what you will be thinking about in terms of the chemical reactions inside cells. And so if you're thinking, I'm not really sure why she's telling us this, the reason I'm telling you it is that it is part of the chemical reaction that takes place inside a cell. Okay? Anybody got any questions about that bit? Do you feel that you can describe an atom? If you get a diagram of an atom to go into your assignment, you can describe an atom. Good, because you will need to do that. Why do we need to know them? Well, atoms are basically linked to the way the body makes and uses energy. And if you remember back last week, what we talked about the body making and using energy was what we call metabolism, your metabolism. And atoms are linked to your metabolism. Because all of the chemicals in your body, absolutely all of the stuff, the substance, the matter, the chemistry, the compounds, all of it is made up of atoms. And those atoms join together to form something called molecules. Now those molecules are made up of atoms of lots and lots of different types. Okay? And so the atoms are held together by something called chemical bonds. And the chemical bonds, the making and the breaking of chemical bonds inside your cells is what causes energy to be released. Okay, so I'm going to go on to explain that a little bit more now. So that's one of the complicated bits that we're going to look at. So I'm going to break it down even more and explain it to you carefully. I'm going to turn this off so we've got a separate video on it.